We're finished.
Hello?
It's not finished. It's only just begun. Hello.
Hey, guys.
How's it going, Luke?
I'm all right. Sorry I was late. Every year, my friends for the past 12 years, we've all gotten together and had a big turkey fry.
Oh.
And I made the mistake of eating some Phoenix wings, and I had to take care of some business. So.
Okay.
Taking care of business. It's alright.
Taking care of business. It's really hurting bad. All right.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Anime Freaks. We are now on episode 4, and this is a special themed episode. This is Pluto Destruction Directive, and with me, as always, is my esteemed co-host Gene Hendricks.
I'm esteemed now. Wow, I got a promotion.
It's better to be in a mad. He's just esteemed. And that other chuckle you heard is our guest tonight, today, this evening, during the day, whichever time you're listening, Mr. Well, they say he's the host of a tokusatsu. Oh, man, I butchered that. But we all know him as Luke Jaconetti.
Konbanwa, Gene, Dr. Bell, how you doing tonight, guys?
Domo arigato.
Don't touch my mustache.
Yeah, you know, on second thought, from what I said earlier, maybe it's a good thing I didn't go to Japan.
I can just see the headlines now. The Tampa Bay, what's the paper in Tampa? The Tampa Herald? Local man ruins everything.
Sets back Japanese
U.S. relations 50 years.
50 years. Back to pre-World War II era.
Japan expelling all foreigners from her shore.
Luke Jaconetti called in to smooth things over.
Unlikely. But anyway, yes, thanks for having me on, guys. Tonight I'm excited to talk about Starblazers.
We are excited to have you. We are so much closer now to getting out of the solar system. We just cannot wait.
See, they need to get like the engine, whatever engines the Gamilons use, because they seem to travel a lot faster than the Star Force does.
Yeah, no kidding. What are they propelling those planet bombs with? Those things seem to cook right through the solar system pretty fast. I think we have Luke actually showed up, the two of us, and brought some news.
Well, I remember on the last episode, you guys asked, "Oh, does anyone have any Starblazers news?" And you kind of chuckle because it's like, "Oh, it's a 35-year-old show," you know. But a couple of years ago in Japan, there was a remake series for the source material for Space Battleship Yamato, and that was called Space Battleship Yamato 2199. Now, in October last month, there was a compilation film of this series released to theaters, which was called Space Battleship Yamato 2199, A Voyage to Remember. And like I said, this was edited from, I think, 3 episodes of the series, and it had some interesting things in it besides just being a compilation. In the end credits, they had some some look aheads to what happens to certain members of the crew, which I thought was pretty neat. And it's just illustrations through the credits. But the real big piece of news is that on December 6th, they're going to be releasing the film Space Battleship Yamato 2199 Star Voyaging Arc, which is an original feature film that acts kind of as a sequel to the 2199 series. Now, I'm not sure on the details on this, but I suspect if it's a sequel to the 2199 series, it'll probably involve the Common Empire.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to wonder, if it was going to take place during the Common Empire or in between the time frame between the first and second season.
I want to say there was that I've read, and I don't know if this is 100% true because I've never seen the 2199 series, but I believe that there was either an OVA or something where it showed like an early encounter between them and this Comet Empire. So I don't know if Star Voyaging Arc will feature the Comet Empire as the bad guys or what, but should be interesting to see. Not sure, of course, on any release information on the series here in the States, but in today's day and age of fan subs and video sharing, if you want to find it, you can probably find it.
Well, while we're on the whole, obviously Starblazers, the Comet Empire thing, I don't know if we might have talked about this, Gene, in the past, or maybe between ourselves. I don't know if we actually talked about it on an episode, and if I have, forgive me for repeating myself. But on on iTunes, I had found years ago, actually these were put out in 2010 and 2011 by a group called Forward Momentum Productions. And they, at the time, had done audio dramas of Starblazers. Have I ever talked to you about this?
You have. I've listened to all of them so far.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I don't think we mentioned it on the show. I think that was when we were planning this initially. Just
that's right.
The two of us.
Okay. What have you thought about those?
I think they're very, very good. It's a little bit of a stretch to say, oh yeah, the Yamato is still around. But it's interesting because you get to see down the road what happens after the 3 series. And it's done very, very well. Unfortunately, they're done with it, it seems.
Yes, they are done with this. They've gone on to do other audio dramas. I think at one point they were doing Bubblegum Crisis. Mm. Yes. In fact, I just called them up. The last one they did was, looks like they stopped back in August of 2013. Because they had a Bubblegum Crisis audio drama. And then prior to the Starblazers one, they had been doing Knights of the Old Republic.
Okay. Yeah, I only listened to their Starblazers episodes. But they were really high quality stuff. I enjoyed listening to those. Yeah,
I had found them because one or two of the guys that was doing some of the voices, one of them was named he had another podcast called The Adventures of Indiana Jim. and he did, I think it was Indiana Jim, and he did voiceovers, and he talked about different techniques to how to record and such, and then that was mentioned, and then from that, I followed this series, and I've saved it onto my iTunes, and I want to actually burn it onto a disc so I don't lose it if the computer crashes, because it's actually, I haven't listened to the whole series in about 2 years. Mm-hmm. So I think it's time to go back and listen again. I do vaguely remember, I had forgot that it takes place after the 3rd series. I know that the Comet Empire comes back is basically what happens.
Yeah, because I can't remember the character's name in the Comet Empire, but he's Prince whatever.
Prince Zordar.
Mm-hmm. So this series, it's after... it's like 3 years or so after the Comet Empire, and his dad gets involved because apparently this was like a lone comet, and they've got like hundreds of them.
Yeah, each Comet Empire, each ship is like that was just one ship,
right? And Zordar was in exile. Mm-hmm. He actually was thrown out of the Comet Empire. So now his dad is coming for revenge. Because even though his son was disgraced and exiled, it's his son, so it's a debt of honor.
Yeah,
and it's a very interesting series.
And they subjugate the Earth, and I believe Wildstar is kind of a lot of it's told in it's a documentary. Mm. In that some of the things say, well, there was a lot said about the Comet Empire, and then they'll quote like this, this comes from Dr. So-and-so, and then this comes from the Journal of Derek Wildstar, and this comes from this person, and this comes from that person. So
have you guys ever seen Outlaw Star?
Yes.
By any chance?
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure.
How in the beginning of Outlaw Star, they would have a little info dump before the episode, and it was just like, the grappler ships were invented by, and they'd go through this little thing, and then into the episode. It was kind of like that. Mm-hmm. Where you get the information because you're started in the middle of a, a rebellion.
Right.
The Earth is rebelling against the Comet Empire, So you're just thrown into it, and then you get some backstory. And I think it was about halfway through they did a full-on flashback episode.
Yeah, it was almost like a. Hold on, I'm looking at it right here. Yeah, they did 6 episodes. Then they did, and it was called Sea of Stars is the name of it. And then they did Sea of Stars Invasion, which was a flashback as to how they got to Sea of Stars episode 1, where that came from. Each one of the episodes is about no more than a half an hour or so, but then the Invasion one is an hour, and then what they called season 2, which was actually episodes 7 through 12, those are all, again, about a half an hour piece. Mm-hmm. So it really doesn't take long to listen to. But it's
I burned through it pretty quick, but it's very well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would highly recommend anyone who either go online and look under Forward Momentum Productions or go on iTunes or your pod machine of choice and look up Sea of Stars or Forward Momentum and pull up there and take a listen. It doesn't look like, I don't know if they're just on hiatus or what's going on.
I looked at their website, and apparently things are going so slow that this was in August that
of this year or last year?
August of this year.
Okay.
Guy said that basically they're not going to have anything for 2014. And
there's a lot of production values in this audio.
Yeah, so in that he says that they intend to stockpile stuff so that in 2015 they'll start releasing things on a fairly regular basis. Okay. So it's on hiatus while things are being built, because obviously they're not making any money from this.
Right.
So they're doing it all in their spare time, and for that amount of quality, it's got to take forever, because I know, for my pathetic show, it takes me 4 hours to do 1 half-hour episode. So it's, and I have nowhere near that quality.
Yeah, there's a lot of good. I mean, really in depth with the sound effects and voice modulation. There's, it's not just a few people getting together doing recording like we're doing and then we're done. I mean, there's a lot of work that's really put into it, and I would highly recommend going out, finding it. Did their website have any type of donation page on it?
It doesn't look like it.
It's a shame.
It's got auditions, contact, about us. I don't see any donations. It's basically a blog.
Oh, okay.
It is essentially what their page is. It's just forwardmomentumproductions.com.
Okay.
Yeah, Luke, I would definitely scope that out.
I'll definitely check that out. That sounds really neat. Just really tangential. You guys were saying about the defeat of the Prince of the Comet Empire, and then his dad shows up. Just really oddly reminds me of part of the plot in Pirate Sentai Gokaiger, because the bad guy in that is a young prince whose name is Wars Gil, and he's a total fop. He's a goofball, and he's like, he's all saying, it kind of hangs a lampshade in the, let's send one monster a week down to go fight the instead of sending the whole army of monsters. Because it's like, I think, it's like, I think we can send one monster down to beat him. It's like, no, that doesn't work. It's like, yeah, it'll work. It's good. It's a good idea.
That kind of sounds like Voltron with the 5 lions.
Yeah. Well, but eventually Wars Gil ends up getting himself killed, and then his dad shows up, and he's not happy about it at all. He sent him to conquer Earth because it should have been an easy job. And so when then Actos Gil shows up after his son dies, and the stuff gets real, let's just say.
All right.
But we are not a Gokaiger podcast,
no,
as neat as that would be.
It's okay. This is crossover stuff. That last time we had Matt on, and we were talking Star Wars and everything that he does. So we can cross the streams. It's okay here.
Yes.
Just like this is a Two True Freaks. This is on the network, so we're crossing.
But we're not on the feed, so that's.
But on the feed. Break your arm. Well, should we maybe take a little break and come back and get started into the reflex gun?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
We'll be right back.
This is Tokyo, once a city of 6 million people. What has happened here was caused by a force which, up until a few days ago, was entirely beyond the scope of man's imagination. Tokyo, a smoldering memorial to the unknown. an unknown which at this very moment still prevails and could at any time lash out with its terrible destruction anywhere else in the world.
Hi, folks. Luke Jaconetti here. I'd like to ask you a few questions. Do you like giant monsters? Or as they're called in Japan, Daikaiju? Monsters like Godzilla, Rodan, Gamera, King Ghidorah, or Mothra? Do you like more obscure monsters, such as Gappa or Yangari? Do you like giant heroes like Ultraman, or super robots like the Shogun Warriors? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I think you might like my podcast, Earth Destruction Directive. I'm a dedicated fan of all things Daikaiju, and I'd like to share that with all of you. Please check out Earth Destruction Directive at twotruefreaks.com. Earth Destruction Directive, where we turn your Daikaiju dreams into city-smashing reality.
The reflex gun on Ice Planet Navarone.
Yeah, that would have been the alternate title to this show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, we're back. Oh, the reflex gun on Planet Navarone. Yeah.
Well, Battlestar Galactica did essentially the same story, and they called it the gun on Ice Planet, Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I actually I found another quick sci-fi tangent, which also another tangent to the tangent I was just going to do. Glenn Larson died.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that just happened. So that's kind of sad as well. But I had found a fan edit of Galactica 1980.
Oh boy.
But they had taken like 3 or 4 different episodes. Hold on, let me find it. I actually watched it, and it was
which is more than we could say for the original Galactica 1980.
well, they had let me see if I can find it. I know it's here somewhere. I gotta look through my long list of things I have saved.
Well, I have to say, Galactica 1980, that was, even when I was a kid, when I saw that, it wasn't an original broadcast, but it was fairly close after. And I saw that, and they had one episode as, oh, your Vipers are going to be invisible now because we painted them with invisible paint. And even at that young an age, I'm like, what?
Okay. Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. That's not the same one. This was another one that I looked at from the same guy that did the editing on YouTube. His name is Battlestar 1999, and he did one called Judgment Day, which is an updated version of my Judgment Day, which takes the Galactica 1980 episode, The Return of Starbuck, and edits out the Galactica 1980 elements, trying to bring it into line with the original series. And it says, I like to think of it as an episode from the second season that never was. So basically, he took this, mixed it in with some other existing Galactica stuff from the first series, and made this a Galactica episode. The other one he did was called The Promised Land, and that is, he had edited, like, where's the original? It has a better write-up on it. Now it's jumping me around to different stuff. But anyway, he had edited together, it was like more of a true ending to the original Battlestar Galactica. He did mix in some of the 1980 elements. Some of the moments are a little hokey, but he even pulled in stuff from, I guess there was an aborted Battlestar Galactica animated series that was going to take place.
Really?
That he had, and he actually had footage from that he pulled in. So that the whole movie is about, it's 44 minutes, but it's called Battlestar Galactica: The Promised Land. And he last updated it in November 2013. There's even scenes from V. He edited stuff in with V. Okay, where the ships are coming over the cities, and everybody's standing and looking at them. They have the shot from L.A. where it's the Battlestar Galactica is hovering above the city, and the guys are looking at, how's it just sitting there? And then when John, the leader of the visitors, beams down or comes down to the top of a building, he put a hologram of Adama there instead.
Oh wow!
So there's been some work to it. It's not bad, and probably the best is that in Galactica 1980 you had Kent McCord, right? Who was also on he was on one of the police dramas. I can't remember. Was it on Adam 12 or was he on Emergency 51? think it was
I think it was on Emergency.
No, because that was Kevin anyway. Whatever.
Where's Andy Leyland? He probably knows all this crap off the top of his head.
Yeah. Well, I sent this to Andy too, and I said you need to see this because of the ties to other shows. All right, so Kent McCord played Boxy he was the adult Boxy in Galactica 1980. Mm-hmm. Kent McCord, the actor, also played John Crichton's father in Farscape.
Okay.
Aha.
So they actually edit in. They have at the end of this Galactica thing, Kent McCord saying goodbye to his son, who is John Crichton. See, it's all connected. It's all together there. It was very interesting. It's 44 minutes. I'd go watch it. So anyway, back to what we're here for, which is Anime Freaks. I guess that's enough sci-fi sidetracking.
The sci-fi sidetrack coming soon on twotruefreaks.com.
That'll be this segment. This will be
there you go.
Time for the sci-fi sidetrack segment. Wow, I can't believe I said that without stuttering. 3 S's in a row. Suffering succotash. So I guess I will begin with we're going to do one big long synopsis for the 2 episodes. I'm going to read part 1, and my cohort is going to take over and do part 2.
Right.
As we begin for our telling of the reflex gun. As the Argo approaches Pluto, Colonel Gantz, the Gamilon commander stationed at the base on the planet, decides to lure in the Star Force to Pluto so he can destroy it and claim the glory of the kill. To execute the attack, the Gamilons launch a barrage of planet bombs towards Earth and dispatch the fleet on Pluto to coax the Star Force towards the planet, where Gantz hopes to strike the killing blow with the Gamilons' new reflex gun. A gun that has so much more power than the wave motion gun. I don't think so.
So much more power.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because the Star Force... Never mind, we'll get to that in the notes. The plan works as the Star Force sets sail for Pluto in hopes of stopping the missile bombardments against the Earth. Unfortunately, this places the Argo within the range of the reflex gun. The reflex. And the weapon's first shot hits the Argo. Navigator Mark Gump Venture manages to stabilize the Argo by using the rocket anchor, which is just freaking cool, and side thrusters to stop the battleship in the orbit of Pluto's moon. Thinking they are hidden from the reflex gun by the moon, the Star Force takes a moment to rest. But the Gamilons make use of reflector satellites in orbit around Pluto to strike at the battleship from the far side of the planet. They hit the Argo again, this time forcing it into Pluto's equatorial sea. The Star Force notices that the reflex gun's beam can't penetrate the water surface, which I'll have notes about that. Mm-hmm. But this is where they mix the two together. So I will just hand it off like a hot potato to my buddy.
But the Star Force can't stay submerged forever. So a plan is devised to send out a strike force to destroy the gun, and Wildstar is put in charge of it. I don't know why, but he is. Wildstar's strike force is dispatched to locate and destroy the reflex gun, which they believe is under the ice since it did not appear on their radar. And that leads them to a suggestion that the team look for cooling towers to locate the gun. To aid in this effort, Avatar orders the Argo to repeatedly surface and submerge to lure the Gamilon commander into firing the gun. Eventually, Avatar and his crew locate the general area of the gun and launch missiles in the directions to help the strike force find the weapon. This works, and the team enters the reflex gun cooling tower. With IQ-9 reprogramming himself to have a welder in his finger, the strike force manages to bypass the booby traps and plant explosives on the gun. The explosion destroys not only the gun, but most of the Gamilon base, which was also apparently underwater, which we didn't know until this episode. With the reflex gun now out of commission, Avatar orders the Argo to surface and to prepare to finish off the Gamilon base. Shaken, Gamilon Colonel Gantz elects to retreat from the planet instead of staying to fight. Unsurprised by his subordinate's cowardice, Gamilon leader Deslock orders Pluto's commander to engage the Star Force, knowing that this will mean certain death for the Colonel and his forces. Avatar's victory against the Pluto base provides some relief for the Earth by eliminating further planet bombing. Earth has only 354 days left.
Dun, 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 dun. All right, I have an explanation as to why the Gamilons are pink on Pluto.
Okay. That's what they look like when they're cold?
Exactly.
Aha!
Because when humans are cold, they turn blue. So Gamilons cold, they turn pink.
They turn pink. Fair enough.
There you go. And if you're gonna, and I know you love to trick me up, Gene, because I'm ready for you this time. Because you're gonna say, well, then why was Deathlock pink later on the episode? The air conditioning was too low.
Well, he obviously wasn't that cold in that room because he had triplets with him.
But he had walked away from them, so he wasn't absorbing their body heat. See, I got you this time, man. I was ready.
So, Pluto, apparently 200 degrees below freezing, but has liquid water.
Well, you know, it doesn't
okay.
have to be. It doesn't have to be water. It could just be, you know. You guys were
Methane.
talking about this last time when they were on Jupiter with plants. It's like, okay, well, maybe plants here don't behave like plants on Earth. They are alien after all. Maybe it's a liquid, but doesn't have to necessarily be water. It could be another, you know, semi-viscous liquid.
Mm-hmm. I did notice, though, that they did say equatorial sea.
Yes.
So if it's like Earth, then maybe it's warmer at the equator, although it's so far away from the sun it shouldn't matter.
It's all relative, you know.
Yes.
A giant ice ball. But I was like, okay, I'll give him an out on that. I'll let that one go.
Oh, speaking of letting stuff go, last time we were complaining about how Wildstar was constantly whining. I'm going to let that go because in this episode, Venture is an ass.
Oh, yeah. I got to know.
Hey, Wildstar, we're approaching Pluto. Didn't your brother die there?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Tell him there's a Wildstar coming. Like, or yeah, well, great. That works out so well for your brother. They were really scared of him. They shot his ship full of holes. Yeah. My note was, yeah, thanks for bringing up the bad memories, Mark.
Well, this was an interesting double episode for me to watch because Starblazers is a little before my time. Being born in 1980, I knew of Starblazers, but I never saw it until a little bit later on in my life. I'm much more familiar firsthand with shows of the same style like Voltron or Robotech, the import anime shows. But so watching this one just as a kind of it's a double episode. There's not a whole lot of character here. It's a lot of action.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it kind of eases you into understanding who everybody is and all that. It's like, okay, he's the guy wearing red stripes. So I got what's going on here. I see what you're doing here, Starblazers. No, you want to talk about not letting things go. I didn't understand how Avatar knew instinctively there was life on Pluto.
Oh,
It says, fire the wave motion gun. We can't. There's life down there. It's like,
there's life on Pluto. I'm like,
there's yellow dogs down there. You can tell from the bark. But it's like, how does he know that? Life on Pluto?
It's the same
Okay.
way we all know that it's called the reflex gun.
Yeah.
Well, when they fire the reflex gun, how do you know the name? Really?
Yeah, there was no communications between the two of you. My note about Pluto is life on Pluto. Fuck Pluto.
What have they ever done for us?
They give us grape jelly, apparently.
Maybe if you guys could figure out how to dial that gun back, you wouldn't destroy whole frickin' planets.
Oh, yeah. Now let's get into that, shall we? The wave motion gun destroyed an entire continent in one shot. The reflex gun hit the Argo 4 different times.
No, wait. No, wait. Those other shots, it was deflected by water. Didn't they shoot it out of water?
Yes. It's based.
They even make a point of saying, oh, its energy was dissipated by the water. Well, if that's the case, how did it even get out of the water to begin with?
I like that they just, it's really lucky for them that it does, though, isn't it? Because they just kind of like, well, maybe this will work. Because if it doesn't, they're kind of boned, aren't they? Real good tactical decision. Well, I read this once that energy beams don't like water, so.
Going up, going down.
Also, just want to say the reflex gun, totally not phallic in any way.
No, especially the energy stuff that comprising.
The Gamilons like the phallic stuff, apparently.
Yeah, just like the totally non-phallic, missiles again that actually start out phallic, but then become little fat mushrooms. And again with the floor map. Where did they get this nice detailed map of Pluto? I'm like, what?
Standard issue.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
I like how when Gans first has his plan and he tells Bane, I don't think Bane's buying it because he's like, what? What? You're going to lure him here? Are you out of your mind?
And then Bane was like, no, that's wrong Bane. I'm sorry.
Oh, yes. Star Force. Wildstar. Wait, I gotta cover up my mouth. Oh, yes, Wildstar. Yes. You fight like a young man. Always using the wave motion gun. Oh, now I'm Orion. Oh, here comes Orion.
The Gamilons have just, I don't know, it's, they're obviously a very technologically advanced race. They've managed to irradiate the Earth and wage war on a galactic scale, but Gant still uses the old-fashioned remote control with the cord that connects it to the television.
Oh, that is such a cool. It's like a 3-mouth duck head or something. Because he's got little things.
I was just going to call it ergonomic, and you're calling it a 3-mouth duck head. Okay.
That's what it looks like. That is a nice. Yeah, it's got a wired remote with a pointer.
Like I remember the first VCR we had that, where it just had pause and record. You had to flick the little button up and down.
I wish I had a triple duck-headed remote for my TV. And I think Gamilons?
Gabilon.
Yo, Gabilons.
Gabber robots.
I think Gamilons are like the Minnesota Fats. They're the master pool players of the universe with the with the bank shots with the energy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Arco side pocket.
Well, between the old-fashioned remote and how their squadron of fighters, their engines sound like 125cc motorbikes. It's like, are we going to go fight the Argo, or are we going on the motocross circuit? What are we doing here?
Oh, okay. All right. How prepared are the Gamilons? All right. They thought far enough ahead to bring submarines.
Yes.
Yes.
And depth charges, but they have nobody guarding the wave. They have nobody guarding the reflex gun. What?
Well, they do. They have the electrified hallway and the electrified floor.
Because those never fail.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I didn't get a chance to check the Japanese version. It looks like half of the strike force gets fried.
Yeah.
When they run around the corner and suddenly you say, oh, wait, it's electrified. And IQ-9's standing there already. There's a look of horror on Wildstar's face with a red light on it. I'm pretty sure that was the advance party running around and getting killed.
Well, we don't see him again after that, I don't think.
No, we don't.
So, yeah.
Oh, no.
You mean Kato?
Yeah.
Kato.
Johnny McRedpants? Yeah.
That was the one guy that shoots the protozoa. Kato! Like, come on. You named the guy Kato? Protozoas of Pluto. I think I'm going to hurl.
Hey, don't knock protozoas of Pluto. I saw them once. They opened up for Melted Butter. It was a great show, man. You should open your mind a little bit to new experiences.
They look like see-through hordes. No kill eye.
They're different relations of Gloop and Gleep from
that was what I thought. Oh, do you guys on loan from the Herculoids? What's going on here?
I don't know. It's the reflex gun, for all the silliness, I do dig it. It's the idea of shooting. Well, first off, like I said, kind of the elephant in the room that we played on. The plot is essentially the Guns of Navarone.
Yes.
Where you've got the super gun that it has to be taken out, and the only way to take it out is to get a small team to go in there and take the gun out. Kind of a standard plot, but that's the Guns of Navarone is one of those plots that's been adapted to a dozen different action shows over the years. We were talking, Battlestar Galactica did it as well, about the same time as this, oddly enough. But the idea of them shooting the reflex gun where they use the satellites to aim it, I thought that was just really cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, that reminded me of the fire mirror from Godzilla vs. Biollante, where they used the artificial diamond mirror to reflect Godzilla's beam at him. Same idea of, we'll just shoot it right back at you. At first I thought that the idea, we'll surface and trick him into firing. That's okay once. It starts getting a little ridiculous.
Well, he finally caught on to it.
Yeah.
You know, and that it's like, all right, at least he finally gets wise and says,
Yeah.
all right, we're going to switch satellites and we're going to shoot to one behind them. You know, sneaky Avatar. I want his pocket watch. Is that a
Oh,
space
that's a cool
pocket watch?
Yeah.
Like I went back and froze that. I'm like, what are all those different? What?
Well, he can convert to minutes if he needs to.
He convert to space minutes. You know.
No, but like I said, from an action standpoint, this had a lot of good ship-to-ship combat, and I don't mean ship-to-ship like the girls on Tumblr say it. I mean actual naval-style combat. The Gamilons fire the missiles, and so the Argo fires their missile to missiles.
Oh, those were
Missile to
cool.
missile.
That was like a Tholian web thing. What?
Yeah,
It's
that was
like
the
how,
pulse missiles they called them, I think.
Yeah, it's like how a jet will drop chaff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that's basically what it was. It was just creating an interference screen that the missiles ran into, and
But
then
it
they
blew
shut
them up. And it's like,
Yeah.
We got to see a lot of new weapons on the Argo in this one. I mean, we got the rocket anchor, we got the anti-missile system, we got the what did they call them? The anti-aircraft guns on the side of the ship.
oh yeah. Oh, and you know when they actually when Avatar ordered to turn to starboard, they actually turned starboard this time.
This time,
Yeah.
I got
And
a question about the rocket anchor.
yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, they say we can't slow down because the brakes don't work.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so they fire the rocket anchor and they anchor themselves down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shouldn't they just be sitting there with the engines on full bore?
Well, maybe they just shut the engines off. But I don't know.
I'm willing to buy that then. Okay, because I'm just sitting there like, you turned. Good job. You're now going in a circle.
Because I had big problems with that too. Because okay, they fire the rocket anchor, and then they even show everybody kind of leaning to one side. Man, the G-forces should have thrown all of them up against the wall and killed them. Because none of them were wearing seatbelts like Nova. Nope. Everything happens. She's jumping out of her chair. She's in midair and turns two different directions. She's making Lieutenant Uhura look like a chump. You know, she's just like, God, woman, sit down and buckle yourself in.
Well, that's just it. She's sitting down. And it's like, oh, we're about to get hit. Let me stand up. And then after they get hit, she sits down again.
Now, they did say something about after they fired the rocket anchor, that they fired some thrusters. Because if not, they would have just spun in a big circle and slammed
Right,
to the moon.
that's what I was thinking. It's like, we fired the side thrusters, which are for maneuvering, but you got to imagine the main engine is more powerful than the maneuvering thruster.
Right.
You would think so. So unless they just shut it off, and then the thrusters allowed them to brake, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they called in like Vanguard Ace off screen to catch him, and it's like, okay, you're stopped now. There you go.
Mm. It's like, oh, we took a hit. So there's just a hole in the aft deck engine room. Crewman Bob floated out, but we're fine. Like, there's a hole in the aft engine room, and you're just, we'll be okay. Don't worry about it. I've got 30 seconds of showtime. I'll fix it.
If only I could have a break for 3.5 minutes.
You're killing me, Captain. And wait a minute, wasn't he on the bridge? Shouldn't his battle station be in the engine room? What are you doing? Get off the bridge, you idiot!
You don't get star money without FaceTime, my friend. You know.
Gotta get me cut this episode.
I can't be working fries. How am I supposed to make any money if I ain't working cash?
We finally got to see Dr. Sane again. He was doing his Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation. Give these crewmen some air.
I like that. It's like, just give them air, fresh, cool air.
65 degrees Fahrenheit. Shut up.
Just send them down a case of Perry Air. They'll be okay.
That's what it sounded like.
Give him a shot.
I like Sane. I like how Sane looks. Again, not having watched a lot of this show, I always love how Dr. Sane looks like he stumbled in from a different anime.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, you're supposed to be on next, buddy. No, this is the space opera. The goofy comedy comes on at 7:30. Oh, okay.
I know, he's the only one that doesn't look human. I mean, he's
like,
just...
why do we have like a hyper evolved ape as our doctor? Has it come to this? Did Jack Kirby write this aspect of the show?
Oh, I got another note about using the wave motion gun. I guess I see Captain Avatar's point, because it would be like using a wrecking ball to kill a fly. by using the wave motion gun. But yet still, they should learn how to dial that thing back and control it, not these. Plus it takes like we said last episode, it takes too long to line up to do the shot. All right, pull the trigger. All right, let's break for lunch because this thing's not going to go off for a couple of minutes. All right, did you notice how easy the small, and I've got a way to explain this one, how the small fighters were able to take out the ships, whereas like in the first episode, those ships were just ripping through the Star Forces.
You had a battleship, an Earth battleship, shooting at those exact ships, and it bounced off. And now you have a one-man fighter shooting it, and they blow up. And then you have the shock cannons just shooting in their vicinity, and they blow up.
Yeah, well, they should have shielded their exhaust ports better, I think.
Yeah, really. Right below the main port,
About a meter wide.
I've turbo lasered Womp Rat smaller than that.
But my explanation, here's my in-show explanation, is that the wave motion tech has been incorporated into the weapon systems of the small fighters, enhancing their capability.
See, what I thought is because they wanted to lure them in, they sent out, like drone ships or something that wasn't as well armored just to say, hey, look at us, we suck. Don't you want to come and kill us? Huh?
This was the papier-mâché fleet.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's like the Gamilon training fleet that they do target practice on. It's like, hey, look at this. We have no armor. Because then, hey, you guys. Huh?
It's like, I had three words for that whole, bullseye, run away. It's a trap. Now, is it just me, or does Colonel Gantz have a lazy eye or something? He's got that weird look. Got that weird look. And he travels around in a giant old style light bulb to get down into the base.
Yeah.
Like, what is he in it? Is he in a tube or something?
Yeah. Well, he takes his lessons from Ernst Stavro Blofeld from You Only Live Twice. A little monorail. Well, I love that they have the little. You guys talked about this before. The little communicator for Deathlock.
Yeah.
Just sitting there and it's never used.
Oh, the big giant head.
The big giant head of Deathlock just kind of staring out. It's like, that would get weird after a while. Have your boss's face right above your TV.
Is it watching me? Oh, and we got a shot from the credits this episode.
Yes.
When it gets broadside. That's straight out of the credits. And I believe when it splashes into the ocean, too. So, if this was Andy Leyland's game, we would be drinking when we saw that.
Yeah, that is probably a reuse animation of it going down to the water, because I know they do that at least one more time.
All right, and the big elephant in the room, I guess. Relax, we're gonna be all right. What the fuck? Okay, they just didn't sink down into the water. Does this thing have artificial gravity and keeps them? Okay, all right. They go. Not only do they go upside, they roll over and go upside down. Then they go bow. The stern comes up. The bow goes down, straight down. Tell me they're not bouncing around the inside of the ship. Is there artificial gravity that's keeping them down on right side up in the deck?
Because remember in the one episode, the artificial gravity went off and they were all floating around.
Yeah, but you're telling me there's internal dampeners that could.
You're willing to accept that?
All right.
A World War II battleship in space.
I'll let it go. Okay.
No, the thing with me is they hit the water pretty hard. It's like, wow, it's a good thing that didn't damage them or, cause a big tear in the hull to flood everyone and kill them all, because that would have been really bad.
Well, what about that big hole in the back by the aft engine room? Bob,
they sealed it.
Yeah.
And what, do the Gamilons have cameras everywhere?
I think at this point, it's a safe bet to say yes.
Because they showed them, there they are. They're upside down on the bottom of the ocean.
Well, they've been on that moon so long, they built submarines.
Yeah.
And depth charges.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the submarines I can buy a bit more than the depth charges, since we've established that there is, protozoas of Pluto on there. Maybe they were using them to hunt down the indigenous life, or to, search for any type of material or minerals they could use for for material for building or whatnot. That I can at least buy that. Mm-hmm. They've obviously been established on this base on Pluto for some time. But the depth charges, again, unless you are planning on there being something down there that you're going to mine it to blow it up, why do you have that? It's like in the movie The Green Slime. They land on an asteroid and they bring laser rifles. It's like, what do you intend to shoot? Rocks?
Target practice.
We're gonna shoot Luciana Paluzzi and leave her here. She's a problem. But anyway.
But so I had a vibe from the Airplane movie when Nova walks up to Derek and says, "Here's a map of Pluto," and his reaction made me think of the guy Johnny that's in the control tower when Lloyd Bridges goes, "Johnny, what do you make of this?" I so badly wanted to see him go, "Oh, I can make a hat. I can make a hat. I can make a brooch.
Make a pterodactyl.
Make a pterodactyl." Because it was just so deadpan. Here's a map of Pluto. Oh, thanks. Well, I guess I'm the only one that got that. Or that, well, not got it, but had it at that moment I was watching it. The recon boat was pretty cool, and it was also an amphib vehicle later on, because it's got wheels that suddenly come out of somewhere.
Yeah, that was cool. And did you notice they actually used the third bridge?
Yes.
Why? I have no idea. But they used it. That's a running gag in Starblazers, because everything always damages the third bridge. And this time they actually used it.
Well, yeah, and I didn't even remember that was ever used in the show. I had forgot about this. Either. You know, because we talked last episode that was like, didn't that get ripped off when they crash landed on the floating continent?
Right.
Because it's underneath the ship.
They repaired it. Now, they got a spare one.
I believe in the live action movie that thing does get ripped off.
Yeah, in the live action movie, because that's one of the things that the first time I saw it, one character said, "Oh yeah, I'm assigned to the third bridge." I'm like, "Oh, he's dead." Yeah, and he actually did die.
Yeah, because now, and I think towards the end of the series when they go to a certain place, doesn't that get eaten off by something?
I think you're right.
An acidic ocean or something.
Yeah,
I think it falls off.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that gets destroyed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a little ways down the road.
And when did the atmosphere of Pluto become breathable? Because I so badly wanted Eager to say, "We're in deep shit." Because they can't stay underwater because of the oxygen supply. Mm-hmm, so that means you can breathe the atmosphere of Pluto.
Right.
So then every time they surface, couldn't they have sucked in more air and gone back down? And sucked in more air and gone back down? I know I'm being nitpicky.
No, but that's a good point. When one of your major pieces of tension is, we have a limited air supply. Here
I am. The Argo is no.
When you have a limited amount of air supply, which is the best type of air supply, they but then to have everybody on the surface breathing normally, it's like kind of defeats the purpose of it,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, can't we just surface and, like you said, suck in some air and then everybody go
relief. Triangulation. That's why Captain Avatar is the captain. We'll just surface, let them fire, figure out where they're at, go back down. And those shafts, I was reminded of Alien vs. Predator when they're walking down that shaft.
Yeah. Which is funny because I thought that the Gamilon base looks kind of like the Ark from Transformers.
You're right.
Like tilted about 30 degrees one side. It's like, here on this planet Earth, we shall continue our fight against the Decepticons. But
now all right. So they're going down the quote unquote exhaust port where the excess energy comes out, and IQ-9 reprograms himself and cuts a hole in the side, and they say that they've cut a hole into the generator room.
Yes. Why
didn't they just cut a bunch of holes
and let it blow itself up?
And let it blow itself up next time it fired. Boom, done. No, we've got this whole intricate plot.
Especially since they're in there and Sandor says, "Be careful, this place is a powder keg."
Exactly.
Just set your bombs there.
Just why do we got to keep going?
You know why? It's my two favorite words in the English language: plot contrivance.
Yeah. I think
they had a limited air supply. They couldn't bring everybody back to the ship. They had to make sure at least half the crew got killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they keep going at this rate, they won't have anybody by the time they get to Iskandar.
Yeah.
All I got to say is I think I would be dead if I tried to cross that room hand over hand. Because I don't think I would have put, okay, I'm up with both and one hand and whoops. Either that or I would have just bent IQ-9's arm and my feet would have touched the ground.
You know what I would have been? You know what, guys? I'll guard right here
Yeah.
You come back and get me when you're done.
Yeah.
I'll stay here and guard the ship.
Towards the end of the first of part one, I think it's Deathlock that says, doesn't he say, "Grip, you're an idiot"? It's just the way he says it. You're an idiot. You're gonna love
Basically,
Deathlock.
because Crypt comes in to say, we think we've destroyed the Star Force, while Deathlock's with the triplets.
Mm-hmm.
So that's...
Don't you see what I'm doing?
He actually said, you came in to interrupt my entertainment for this. Kid show, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Hey, I got nothing. Way to stay classy, Japan. That's what I'm gonna say for that.
So the gun is destroyed, and then you see like 30 odd ships flee the base. Like, where are you guys going? Turn and fight. You've got all these ships, and you're just turning tail and
but you've seen how effective their ships are against the Star Force fighters. Would you? I did like that though. That Deathlock basically says that they're not allowed to return. Gantz and Bane are not allowed. I thought that was pretty. It was cool from a cool story point, but it was very cool and cold on the part of Deathlock. And he doesn't really play much of a role in this story. But I liked him basically reminding you, hey, I'm the big bad here, not these two, not Goofus and Gallant here on Pluto, you know. So he kind of lays down the laws, like, yeah, if you screw up, you're not going to be coming back next week, you know.
Yeah. Exactly. And then Nova and Venture go out to, can we go meet Derek as he comes flying back? And what do? They pile in the ship, and neither one of them is wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
It's like you were just, like I said earlier, you were just an ocean nightmare.
All I could think is Avatar be like, certainly, this isn't a military operation at all. Go greet your boyfriend. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I'll just have Space Ocean down on my ass in a heartbeat. Yeah, great.
Space Ocean. There's no railings allowed in Space Ocean. That rail kills.
Oh, Space Ocean here. You gotta go. You gotta put a railing around that big gaping hole you got going in the engine room where crewman Bob flew out.
But he's going to just fall over the rail and die then if it's put a rail there. Everybody knows that. I got to say, though, all things considered, yeah, you can pick it apart. But, this was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, for a two-parter, it seemed like an odd choice for a two-parter because there's not a whole lot of story here. It seemed like this could have been told in one part, but except that they like to... Yeah, they wanted to focus on the action. This almost says to me like, hey, we're going to compile this into a 45-minute feature that's going to play in a double feature in a cinema, Right. Kind of like Toei does with they'll do that with their tokusatsu properties. They'll make a 45-minute Super Sentai feature and a 45-minute Kamen Rider feature and release them as a double feature. Because that's what this felt like. It's like, oh, okay, this would make a good 44-minute home video OVA.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you miss it because there's not a whole lot of, the only real development is, hey, we stopped the planet bombs. There's no big character moments, just a lot of action, like I said, a lot of good ship to ship combat and stuff. But it's ultimately it doesn't. Not that any of these early ones are really advancing the plot a huge amount, but it was fun, but it didn't seem to have much in the way of really lasting impact.
No. I don't think we get lasting impact for a few episodes yet, unfortunately.
Well, you got to turn the crank on that formula. You got to build the formula in a show that runs this long before you can break the formula and have anyone care.
Mm-hmm.
You got to fight the bad guys of the week a few times before when you don't beat them, it's like, oh, wait a minute, he didn't get beat at the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because our next ones
The next episode is another shot from the credits, and then the one after that is probably one of my favorite episodes of the entire run.
Oh, yeah, because that's...
What's the Asteroid Ring is the next one, and then the one after that is We Will Return.
Yeah, We Will Return, that's where everyone gets to say one last goodbye to Earth, and it's a really good character moment for a couple of different ones.
Oh yeah, there's going to be some cool stuff in.
Yeah, that one is basically the complete opposite of this. There is practically no action in it. It's entirely story and is some great character beats in that.
Yeah. And then the asteroid ring, that's where... Oh, that's right. Isn't that where they launch out the little magnet things that attracts all the... And they cover the ship?
Yeah, they basically turn the Argo into...
A big giant Argo-shaped rock.
Yeah, and so that they can do repairs, and they're in an asteroid field, so they blend in, and then they turn into a weapon. Because we're humans.
Yeah, because then they have... That's where they've got the rotating... the ring of asteroids that they're using to block incoming shots, right?
Right.
All right. For some reason, I thought that took place in the Comet Empire one, but I guess it is here.
Well, they stole Starman Star Crash from Mega Man 5. Very cool.
See, that's why you're here. Like, what?
Like I said, I felt like for a what's ostensibly at its heart an action space opera. This was very action space opera for 44 minutes. So I really, I said it. There were parts of it a bit in the second half that, like, okay, well, this is a little bit of padding here to kind of pad this episode out. But overall, I thought, it's been at least 10 years since I've watched any Starblazers or Space Battleship Yamato, and I liked it. So I thought it was worth checking out. So I've been enjoying listening to you guys talk about it. So it was fun to actually watch it.
Oh yeah, we've had a blast going back and covering it, wallowing in it, loving it,
tearing it apart.
Did you one thing I forgot to bring up early on, and maybe we'll do our email episode or email stuff at the end. Have we received any email?
No.
Oh. Okay then.
I could write one really fast on the fly if you guys.
No, that's okay, sir.
Dear anime freaks.
Well, I guess
I never thought it would happen to me, but
I was with 3 Gamilon triplets. Or 3, well, that would be 9 of them.
Hello, Charlene. I'm Marlene. Hello, Marlene. I'm Charlie. Chew your gum.
Well, if we had email, it would go here.
Yes.
But did we give? Oh yeah, you put it in the show notes.
I put it in the show notes, but let's put it in the show. That way, people that don't read the notes can get to us. It is
or people who can't read.
I really want to get an email from that person. So you can send us an email if you are so inclined at anime@thehammerstrikes.com. Simple enough, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That works.
Now, we have gotten a lot of response back on Facebook, so we have, and we thank everyone that's been posting and liking, and we appreciate your listening. And actually, coming up soon, we haven't, I don't think we've mentioned this on the show. I think we mentioned on Facebook. We had talked about possibly at the midpoint of the season, we're going to break and do an animated movie, but we have not really, I don't think we've 100% decided which one we're going to do, have we?
No, we haven't. And if any of you have a suggestion for what movie you would like us to cover, send us an email. Let us know. We will definitely take all suggestions under advisement.
So we have, that'll be this episode, which will go up probably in probably a week or 2, maybe, or 3, not sure.
Before the end of the year.
Yes, definitely before the end of the year. It'll be early December.
It will definitely go up by the time the listeners are hearing this.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we have at least 2 more shows before we reach the midway point. We have episode 9 and 10 to cover, and 11 and 12. Also, actually 3 shows, because then we'll just do the Gamilon pilot, which will be the midway point.
Yeah.
And then we'll break and do an animated movie. I've got a couple animated movies actually already in-house. I've got Akira, Vampire Hunter D, what is it? Super Atragon, which is about another Japanese.
Super Atragon.
Yep.
Actually, Atragon was a tokusatsu film. They're both based off of a manga. Atragon was an early Toho film. Toho, of course, being the studio that produces Godzilla and all the other Toho pantheon of monsters. That's where the monster Manda comes from, the giant Chinese dragon that you see in Destroy All Monsters at the beginning of Godzilla Final Wars.
Yeah, but this one isn't. This Atragon is based on a submarine.
Yes, the
Oh,
Gotenko,
okay.
the big submarine that has a drill on the front and everything.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Gotenko and Atragon are the same ship, just to change their names depending on where it's localized to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the Gotenko from Godzilla Final Wars is the same ship from Atragon.
I see.
Yeah, except Don Fry doesn't captain it in Atragon.
I take it Don Fry was in the Atragon movie.
No, Don Fry was in Godzilla Final Wars.
Oh, you're making my head hurt.
That movie makes my head hurt.
Oh, that was one where the Godzilla 1998 showed up, wasn't it?
Yes, that's where Zilla shows up and he fights them in Sydney. Yeah,
and he gets wiped out instantly.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that, okay, Zilla gets wiped out instantly, but a lot of monsters get wiped out instantly in that film. Which is like, I was having this discussion today, and that's the problem, is like, people who think, oh, this is an homage to the old school Showa movies haven't seen them. If you think that short fights that are unsatisfying was the calling card of a Showa film, you haven't watched them.
No.
It's like, wait, there's 15 minutes left. Let's let the monsters roll around and have no human dialogue for the next 12 minutes. All right, good.
The only Godzilla movie I have on, in my house is I picked up a few years ago. It was a videotape version of Godzilla versus Biollante.
Excellent.
And because I had never seen it. It was at a local store that does a lot of imports. And they had it like, ooh, I gotta get this. That is a pretty good kick-ass.
It
movie.
is. For a long time in this country, that was the latest Godzilla film you could get legally, until Sony eventually did the balance of the Heisei films on VHS and then double feature DVDs. But for a long time, Godzilla vs. Biollante was kind of the ne plus ultra of Daikaiju in this country, because that was the newest and best one you could get as far as effects and stuff. So I remember HBO Video released that movie, and then HBO showed it all the time, and I've watched that movie hundreds of times because of that. And I own it, and I own it on DVD now, but that's still a favorite of mine. So you knew what I was talking about before when I said the fire mirror.
Oh yes, yeah, yep, I did, because I was like, wait, the fire mirror, and I'm like, I know that, and then you said violent, I was like, oh, okay, that's right, that's where I've seen that. I know something.
Well, I've got a couple suggestions for anime features, so I'll be sure to send those in. Some different, I say you mentioned Akira and Vampire Hunter D, kind of two of the old standbys,
And there's always Fist of the North Star and
Fist of the North Star. I'm thinking like Fatal Fury, the motion picture, personal favorite of mine from college, because I love the Fatal Fury games.
No Legend of the Overfiend. No, thank you.
No.
I've seen it, and once or twice or three times is enough.
Once, twice, three times a fiend. So
yeah.
I'm only 1.4 times a lady, so I don't really know.
Yeah, when I was in the Navy, I don't know if I told this story on here or not. One of the guys brought that movie on, and we all watched it. We're all like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" All right, run that again.
Yeah. In the Navy, nothing much phases you.
It's like, that was sick. All right, play it again. Anyone wants to go find it?
One I know we had bandied about is if we want to do another crossover at some point. Hanna-Barbera actually did an animated feature film for the Ultraman series, which was called Ultraman USA. And it is available on YouTube. So that might be, I want to say I've seen it once. There were two. That's the second animated Ultraman. The one most people know better is the Ultraman, which features Ultraman Jonius and was the Ultraman anime that became the Ultraman and Ultraman 2 OVAs here in the States in the 80s. But this one, like I said, it's done by Hanna-Barbera, so it's got some of their stock effects animation and stuff in it, and it features a team of 3 people who all become Ultra heroes.
Oh,
It's
wow.
it's pretty interesting stuff. If you have to like Ultraman, that's kind of a big caveat. But I was watching an Ultraman film the other day with my wife, and I said, "Oh, because she was playing a game on her computer while watching." I was like, "Oh, did you follow?" She's like, "Yeah, there was Ultras fighting." I said, "Oh, yeah, okay, so you pretty much followed it then." Got it. Okay, good.
Yeah, so you can look up for 5 seconds, and okay, that's what it is.
At one point, she said, "Oh, the red and black guy's back." I was like, "Yes, that's Belial." She's like, "Oh, okay, back to her game."
Well, I guess we've kind of come to the end, and if Luke, you would like to tell everyone where you can be found.
Sure thing. You can always find Earth Destruction Directive. That's my home podcast where I talk about Japanese giant monsters and the assorted varieties and versions of monsters that are out there of that type. You can find that at twotruefreaks.com. I'm also one of the co-hosts over on the Vault of Startling Monster Horror Tales of Terror, also on twotruefreaks.com. That is our ongoing horror podcast. We just, as we're recording this, the episode for Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, just dropped earlier this week. And so that is, we're continuing our look at the Friday series as we move from Paramount over to New Line. And we've got a new series coming out. I won't spoil what it is. I'm not sure if Chris Honeywell has spoiled it or not, so I won't say what it is, but we've got a new series coming in to replace our Italian primer that just ended. So, again, check that out at Two True Freaks. And you can also check out my moderately updated Hawkman blog at beingcarterhall.blogspot.com, which is my little blog covering all aspects of DC's Winged Warrior Hawkman. So, if you're interested in any of that, please check it out. So that's where you can find me on the internet.
Okay, Gene, where can we find you?
Well, you can find me here, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I also have my own show, which I do normally by myself, but lately I've been having a lot of guests on, and that's the Hammer Podcasts, also at Two True Freaks. Eventually, we are going to be getting back to the Quantum Cast on Two True Freaks. The co-host I do that with has been a little busy, so we'll get back to that probably in the new year. And then there is the blog that started it all, which is thehammerstrikes.com, where I make a post every Thursday on whatever geeky topic goes into my head.
Cool.
How about you, Bill?
Oh, me. Well, obviously, just like you, I'm here.
If you lived here, you'd be home by now.
Exactly. I'm also on Back to the Bins, Avengers Spotlight, and Walking Dead Wednesday, and I occasionally make a little guest appearance here and there when people ask me to come on. So, and I'm pretty much mainly on the Two True Freaks network as well. That's about it.
I think you can also find Dr. Bell outside of Busch Gardens in Tampa, occasionally telling people, I'm not going to say it's aliens, but it's aliens.
I've got a haircut since then, so it's not quite as bad. Happy trails to you.
Hurry, Starblazers. Hurry up.
Hurry, get more prunes.